So good day, everyone, and thank you for joining us. My name is Doug Wendt. I am the president and CEO and chief growth officer here at Wendt Partners. We are based in New York City, where I'm joining you from today, and we are a HubSpot elite partner focused on solving the needs for complex B2B enterprises. And I want to thank everyone for joining us for today's in-depth look at how we can solve for the need of the complex B2B world through the power of integrated configure, price, and quote technology and a philosophy, if you will, of creating a fluid sales motion in our increasingly complex world. With that in mind, I want to introduce my guest and our colleague for today's discussion, Eyal Orgil. He is the Chief Revenue Officer at DealHub. So welcome, Eyal. How are you today?
I'm doing great, Doug. Thanks for having me here today. Really excited.
Excellent. So we are honored at Wendt Partners to be the first HubSpot partner who is also a member of the DealHub partner ecosystem. We're also a customer. So I feel like the president of Hair Club for Men. I'm not only the owner of the company, but I'm also a customer. So we are excited. He's like, I cannot believe you made that reference. I hope I got some chuckles out in the audience. As you can see, we're going to have a little fun today. So, there's a really interesting question here. And that is for those of us who are in the field of solving for customer needs, right? And we are selling and we are marketing business solutions every day. We're trying to do two things that honestly seem like they're in conflict. We want to give the customer a very smooth experience, and we want it to be as frictionless as possible, and quite frankly, as fast as possible. At the same time, increasingly, there's a lot of work that has to be done to create the right solution and a lot of questions that need to be answered. And I literally had 3 meetings this morning talking with different people about how to solve for that problem. So this is obviously a very prescient issue. Eyal, tell us a little bit about the story of DealHub. What made you all decide to kind of zero in on focus on this? And what were some of the challenges that you encountered that made you say this is an area that needs a new approach?
Sure, fantastic. I'd love to tell you about it. So basically, when we put together DealHub, we took a look at the way things were being done in the world of CPQ, configure, price, quote, and said, there's got to be a better way. It can't be that you've got to come to build a solution that's going to take you 6, 9, 12, even 18 months to put it together. It's going to take a team of 6 people to maintain it. Any changes that you want are going to take you 2 or 3 months. And by the time you make those changes, they're 2 or 3 months old. Now, where are you? You're chasing yourself the whole time. You've got that cycle, that crazy cycle sort of going on. So we came out with this great idea. Let's make a CPQ that is configurable. And our big dream was originally, let's get it so it can be done in 48 hours. Now, we never quite made it to 48 hours. We do have projects that go up in just in several weeks, which is really great. We just had a record the other day of 8 days to put up a very complex environment, which is, not our average, but it was really fantastic to see that it could be done. But we wanted something that could be up and ready quickly. We're in business here. We can't be waiting for months to do something. We got a pain now. We got to address the pain right now. So we built a solution, first of all, that was configurable. You don't have to bring the programmers. I learned programming 20 years ago, and that was the last time I touched it. I want to be able to go in and yeah.
You knew enough to know that you didn't want to keep doing it.
I knew enough. That was, it wasn't for me. The other guys that do it, they're great. I'll tell them what I want them to do, but let them go do that. But we didn't want to let them do their other work. They got a lot of other important things to do. We don't want programmers coming in. We want business people, sales operations, revenue operations, the business applications people. We want them to be able to go build out the system, maintain it, because they're the ones that are in touch with the salespeople all the day. Or I'll probably make the note, not salespeople, complainers, because that's what salespeople are. We complain all day. You got to deal with them. So we needed a solution that would be able to.
Guilty as charged, my friend. Keep going.
We needed a solution that was going to be able to allow someone to go and address their needs in real time. So that was one aspect that we looked at the operation side. So something's got to be really simple to put together and maintain it. And then we said one of the other big problems that you have with applications that are provided to salespeople is they just don't get it. Every other day we're throwing another solution at them. You want to change the way that they work. Now you're going to work this way, and they don't understand even why you gave them a solution. Everything is always done for management. It's not done for me. So we really put together a solution that we thought works right for the salespeople. And how do we know it works right for them? Because we tell the salespeople, you come and tell us how you want to be configured. And we'll maybe have some time to look at that later on, but you tell us how you want things to work. You want to take your process that you work through and put that into the system rather than teaching you a whole new system all the time. You get value out of it right away. You don't have to train them for hours and hours. They don't forget things. It's just natural. So those are really key things that we looked at when we put the solution together. It was a different kind of philosophy. I think we've done a great job in putting it together. It's really made a big difference, but I'm glad actually I could be part of that. You could come up with an idea and really put something that came out to be of value. So that's sort of like a bit of the backstory of, where we came from and where, we started off, and obviously we're going in a lot of different directions, which we can talk about as well.
So you brought up, I think, really three key points. I was talking about reducing friction and pain for the customer, but you've made a really, a second critical point, which is it also has to reduce friction and pain for the salespeople. Because otherwise they won't use it, and B, because even if they do use it, if it's hugely painful, they're going to come out with the wrong result. Right?
It's exactly it. You see the number of tools that go in for salespeople, and in the end, it's a failed. People don't realize it. It's a failed project. If the salespeople don't use it, you're not getting even what you wanted in the back end, whether it was better reporting, better forecasting, or any other kind of solution you have. If the front end people, which are the salespeople, those ones that are complaining all the time, but what can you do? They're your customer. If they're not using the solution, you're not getting the value through the rest of the process. And that was what was really key, to look at those salespeople, the friction that they go through.
Awesome. So we've got two kinds of friction, the customer side and the sales team side. I want to bring up something else, because I'm going to ask the question that I'm going to answer, but I also want to get your input. We are a HubSpot solution partner. HubSpot has a quoting solution built in. All of our competitors, the Salesforces and Microsofts of the world, all of the top CRM solutions, of which I named basically the top three, that plus ERP-based solutions is probably 50% of the market in B2B, right? They all have quoting capabilities of some kind. And I've historically used HubSpot's quoting module. One of the things that clients love about it is how quick it is. But we reached a point where it wasn't enough. And so my question to you is, knowing that every CRM vendor that is in the top tier of the market has built a quoting engine of some kind, why is that not enough?
Well, it's exactly what you just called it now. They built a quoting engine. They didn't build a configuration engine. Where people have their pains is it's not, you could take a Word document and throw down some words and some numbers, as long as you totaled up things right, or do it in Excel, and there's a quote that you can do. And that's what a lot of people are still doing. It's amazing how many large companies still work off of, Excel, probably the best tool you've ever made, but it's not connected to anything. But
right. So it's the best database that isn't a database. Yes.
Exactly. You can't get better than that, but you can't get, but there's a lot of, we won't get into that. Let's not about Excel today.
Next week, why Excel is not an ERP system. Yes. Sorry, my friend, go ahead.
Yeah. So the configuration part, that is the key. That's where the pain comes in. That's where you put the wrong products together. So the quote that goes out, it's just not worth the paper it's on because it's got mistakes on it. That's where the salespeople are putting the wrong pricing towards things. It's another area, what CPQ is. We can talk about that and how you allow them, what you allow the salespeople to do. But if you can't get that configuration right, I always like to tell my new salespeople when they come on board, it's like, we have a customer and they sell cables and they happen to be a $20,000 cable and you forgot a cable. Who's paying for that $20,000 cable? Well, yeah, sure, the system's $1 million, but it's still $20,000. Someone's going to pay for that. So
it's not going to be the customer. I can tell you that.
That's right. So the configuration part is so key. I hear so many solutions talk about being a CPQ, but where's the configuration? Where are you validating that they're putting the right solution together? So a lot of solutions that are really good out there to put nice quotes together, they'll price it, they'll let you discount and all that, but they don't do that whole configuration side of things, that engine behind it. Now, our engine went a lot further as well, and we can talk about a little bit later as well, how it actually can do a lot more things in the proposal besides just putting the right products and the right pricing together. But that's the key thing. If you want CPQ, I don't know how, but people forget that letter C in it, and that's so important.
You nailed it. And I'm actually going to talk a little bit about our own journey to how we found you, because we literally found you as a customer first. And I think our journey reflects the confusion in the market that you just so eloquently described. So we historically use the HubSpot quoting module, still do for many applications, love it as a quoting tool. It's fast, efficient, it's quick, it's all inside HubSpot. That's all spectacular, right? Great. 4 simple applications. Our business in the last 2 years has become infinitely more complex. So then we started looking at PandaDoc, another product in the market, a totally different kind of approach to the solution. And I want to emphasize, we're a PandaDoc partner, and we love PandaDoc for the problem that PandaDoc solves. PandaDoc is there is no such thing as a configuration. Every proposal is literally written line by line from scratch. And then we need to assemble a lot of components and give this very, essentially like that bound document style. So if you're literally writing a proposal and you have a proposal writing team and there is no configuration, but it's still highly complex, PandaDoc is the right solution for that market segment. And we were attracted to PandaDoc because we thought that was the right fit for where we were going. And it's a great solution, and we implement it all the time for clients, but we realized it was not solving the problem that we had. The problem that we had is we wanted the visual attractiveness of a PandaDoc proposal, because PandaDoc, one of the reasons that it's a great solution and a great company is because they make a very visually stunning output, right? But it doesn't have the engine that we needed to create complex pricing tables and ask lots of questions. We did an analysis in January of this year and determined that at Went Partners, in order to do a proper implementation scope, there were 167 questions that needed to be answered. 167. I don't want to sit there and bore the client to death with all 167 because they're not all relevant to each client. This is more like a flow chart. It's a decision tree, and there are 167 decision points on that tree. Some clients, we can answer that with 5 of them. Some we need 100 plus. We don't know, and we need technology to help us figure that out and work through it. So we realized, okay, we can quote quickly, but we can't build a really sophisticated proposal. Great, we moved to PandaDoc. Now we can create a sophisticated proposal, but there's no way to know if we've actually proposed the right thing. And so that $20,000 cable, I have given a lot of $20,000 cables metaphorically and not that far away from the truth. Just replace cable with something else. In the last few years, I have learned that, you can sell a lot of business and you can lose a lot of money by not having the right solution in place in the right process. So we came together and we said, okay, great. We need a really sophisticated engine behind the ultimate result, which is the proposal. Okay. Then we started looking at products that are engines. And what we found is engineers write engines, and engines can be sophisticated and they look horrendous. And they're kludgy and they don't integrate with anything because that's not what engineers are focused on. So the trouble with just having an engine is, great, now I've created this very sophisticated thing that absolutely adds no excitement to the buyer, and it's disconnected from the rest of my process. What was the point of that? So then we started digging and saying, we're going to look for this holy grail. We're going to try to find out if somebody out there is doing complex configuration capability married with an elegant user experience integrated with HubSpot. And you will remember, my friend, we were knocking on your door and saying, I think we've got something here. And you guys were like, well, I don't know. Let's learn a little bit about it. And I want to thank you for that caution, because you said, we want to get to know you and determine if this is the right approach for us, if there's a match. I always tell people, you can tell the best salespeople because they qualify the prospect early in the conversation. And then we realized collectively there was a match. And now we are a customer. And because we're loving it, we can't stop talking about it. We've decided to become your first HubSpot partner in all of the world, which I cannot express how excited we are to solve for this problem. What made you realize as a company that it can't just be engineering? It's got to be a powerful engine mirrored with a really dynamic, attractive user experience for the customer.
Well, I think it's what I talked about earlier. First of all, it's people using the solution, and it's a special kind of people. We're salespeople. Keep it simple for us. Keep it to the point so that we can do what we want, and make sure you allow us to do the things that we want to do. And when it comes to new tools, don't be changing it all the time. Every time something new comes in, they got to learn something new. And
Right.
It doesn't matter. Sometimes it's even salespeople that don't do a lot of quotes, but they're using the solution, but they quote once every month or something like that. If they forget how to use it, they got to go back and get retrained and things like that. So the user experience was super important on the sales side of things. And what you talked about a moment ago, what we put together is basically a decision tree. We basically say, and I said it earlier, it's a discovery process that the salesperson works through. Why don't we model that into the process? So a salesperson doesn't have to change the way that they work. If I come to you and ask you, what kind of storage system do you want? Do we want that for capacity or for fast speed or whatever? The same questions you'll normally ask, or you want software. How many users do you need? How long do you need it for? Whatever business you're in, your construction, how many feet of something do you need, or how many pounds of something, or whatever it is. So we want to take that process that the salesperson is already using with their customers and simply model in the system. What is easier than simply answering a bunch of questions that you're already asking your customer And then if you've got a solution that says it's going to configure and price something for you, we'll let it go and configure and price for you. So answer the questions, and in the background, the system is set up to put the right products in place, put the right pricing automatically based off of who you're selling to. So what vertical market, what territory you're in, or if you've got a special pricing program with a certain customer, automatically have that pricing come in, and even the content that goes with that. You want to put together a proposal. We said the salesperson is looking at we're always looking at what added value can I provide. Well, I can provide you a one-page pricing sheet and here's your price, or I can add value. That might be a customer testimonial, a case study, other content that wants to go with that. And why do I have to go and rethink again? What do I need over there? The system should know, well, if I'm selling to an educational market and I'm selling a certain kind of product in a certain territory, we already have customers in that area. Why don't we recommend the right customer references for them, or case studies? So in that engine, we took it and said, let's think of all the ways that the salesperson is working in terms of what products they need, what they need to quote, what they need to present to the customer, and take them through that whole journey. And that was what was really key for us from the user experience, is to make sure we can provide them one solution to do that. So they're not looking at 3 different solutions to do that. And we'll talk hopefully in a few minutes as well, how we provide even a much more rich and engaging experience for the customer as well. So the salesperson can look even greater than just sending out a Word or a PDF document.
Yes, absolutely. And honestly, it was the combination of those two elements that was the closer for us. And I actually want to ask, let's dig in. Can you show us some of the deal rooms? Let's talk about that. Let's start with our customer, the end customer, and work our way back, because I think it's really important to emphasize that with DealHub, we're not having to choose between sophisticated and attractive. And in every other product you compete against, it is, I can have it sophisticated or I can have it attractive. And you guys have done both. Let's start with the deal room and work our way back through the process.
Let me just give a little bit what you're about to see in a second. So when we generate content today in DealHub, yes, we can generate a Word or a PDF document. We also generate something we call a deal room, which I'll pop up in just a minute. The idea of the deal room is to provide customers a much more engaging experience, something they're expecting in the modern world over here. So we want to provide them a web experience. Let me share on our screen over here. And oops, we'll come back to that one in a second. But here we've got an example of a deal room. So basically what happens from the customer experience is they're going to get a link. Now it can come through an email that comes from the system, or they can just take the link and present it to the customer.
I just want to let you know, we're still seeing the whiteboard. So you're sharing successfully, but you're sharing the wrong screen, or we're just not seeing it.
Oh, then I'll better stop. Hang on a second. Stop
no problem.
Go back to the share. Sorry about that.
By the way, that is the whiteboard capability. It is a complete and clean whiteboard. There we go. Awesome.
There we go. Okay.
I recognize this company.
All right. So here's an example that Doug is going to send out to his customers. So he's going to send out a link to them through an email, and it's all branded to his look and feel. Now, this is one we created. So Doug, I'm sure your marketing team has put a better one together, but the idea is we want to provide a very branded look and feel, a very unique, and it's clean, or as detailed as you need it to be. Doug, I'm sure when you send out proposal to customers, you got a little intro that you provide the customer. With DealHub, you have the ability, if you're a sales guy that's working fast and you don't have time, we're automatically going to populate that for you. So it'll dynamically build out the right description it needs, or you might put in your own little introduction of the customer. You want to put a little bit of marketing information about the company, maybe even a short video. Now, everything in DealHub, we'll look at the engine in a few minutes, or the process that the salesperson goes through. The content can be automatic, or it can be fixed by the salesperson. Meaning you could have decided, I want this specific video to come up, or based off of who you're selling to, what products you're selling, automatically DealHub will recommend the right content to go to. So we can learn a lot from what works, utilize the right information, but we're always wanting to give the salesperson a lot of flexibility in what they're able to do. So here's a bit more information. You want to talk about your offerings, what you can do, maybe some customer testimonials that you want to include, and some of your customers. If it's a quote, obviously we want to provide some pricing. Now, deal rooms, which what we're seeing here, do not have to be price proposals. It could have just been some marketing information that we initially sent out. In this case, I provided some marketing information and a quote. I might even want to offer the customer several options. We're not seeing it right here, but I could have offered them option 1, 2, and 3, and the customer could themselves select the final option that they want to go with. So it's another capability that you can add on. We could have added some other capabilities to drop additional content in over here, or have your terms and conditions come up. We can even get the customer to fill in their own information. So we can put on forms over here. This information syncs back to HubSpot. So you've got it already captured. It automatically goes on to the document. We actually do generate a document in the background over here, because that's where, if you're going to sign off on it, you need an official document, and then you can sign off electronically. And this is just one of the modes that we have for e-signature, using our own e-signature, or if you've got DocuSign and want to use that, you can go ahead and continue to use DocuSign, and we'll work together with that. So if you want to see another example over here, you can see you can really brand it to the look and feel, whatever it is that you need to have appearing over here, put in some animations, really have that a rich experience for the customer. So it's really cool. You're not only sending some information out that's very valuable to the customer, you're also providing yourself in a very rich and engaging manner. They're looking at you as an organization that's leading over here. So it's a really great way to go share content. As a salesperson, I can also track the engagement of the customer, so I can see if they're looking at the content, sharing it, filling out a form, downloading something from here. So it's a lot of great information that the salesperson gets as well, not only sharing rich information, but also getting a lot of information back on what's happening, so we can understand how customers are actually engaging with us.
So much here that I want to unpack. I want to zero in on a couple of things before we move backward through the process. The first thing is you've done 4 things in one document. So this serves as, in our case at Went Partners, utilizing all this capability, it serves as our pricing proposal. Yep. Right? It serves as our contract engine. And I'm going to dig into that in a few minutes because I want to talk about how we're able to utilize the system logic to insert and append specific terms and conditions into different contracts. Okay. It serves as our execution engine if we're using the e-signature, which we do, right? And it is a marketing presentation that helps differentiate us at the point of decision. You know, when people look at this, they're like, this helps reiterate, this is a professional and sophisticated organization. I'm making a decision with confidence, and I've got the backing of the company behind me. And we have absolutely seen that play out. When the other thing is, we love to present this during the meeting and walk through it with the client, because it has the feeling of a sophisticated presentation, but it's a living document. So as a salesperson, you're arming the salesperson with a tool that has the power of marketing, but all of the components necessary to close the deal, which is honestly just amazing. The other thing I would go ahead. Yes.
Is that when you send out the content, you've got multiple stakeholders on that buyer side. They're all getting the same information. Now, what we do a lot of times with our deal rooms, when we send it out after we do a session with a customer, is they've seen a sales presentation, we send them the deck inside a deal room, and they start sending it out to other stakeholders. Everybody's getting the same information. We talk about a deal room being almost like a virtual conference room. Everybody sees the same information. It's not that one person saw one email, someone saw another email, someone got all 3 of the emails. Everybody has all the information that we can engage on, and we're adding more engaging elements over here as we go. So we're going to make it possible to have more communication going back and forth in real time. You can change things and communicate back and forth with salespeople. So it really becomes a focal point for the area where you can work together between the buyer and your seller, your salesperson and their customer.
Awesome. There's one other thing I'm going to point out that I know for us is invaluable. And then I want to talk about some of the sophistication behind the engine. If you scroll down, that's the billing information section. I'm going to explain why this is so important. It's one of those things that seems small, but it's huge. A little bit further down in the billing information, then we'll talk about the T's and C's. No, you're fine. One of the challenges that we've historically had is the decision maker is not the person that we send the invoice to, right? Accounting is typically a different department than this person who signs. In our old process, you get the e-signature, and then we have to say, oh, by the way, who do we send the invoice to? And that's in an email exchange. And then we're trying to figure out what to do with that information. Really, that's the first step of the onboarding process. And what we're able to do here is actually start the onboarding process while we are still in the sales cycle or finishing the sales cycle. The best way to do onboarding is to have it be essentially invisible. So we are able to start collecting information. That information can feed into HubSpot. So in our case, we're filling out the CRM, and we can start executing immediately on other activities based upon form data that we're collecting in here. So, you know, again, when we talk about, and I don't want to ask you, you all chose this concept to really zero in on one fluid sales motion. In your mind, what does that mean?
It really means the ability to give a salesperson from start to finish one solution, one place that they can go to for all the different stages that they go through. Like I said earlier, we send out sometimes deal rooms that are just sales information. So we're starting off the sales process. Let's just get them a bit more information. We might, answer some questions, even just like we would build out a quote, but we're just answering to understand the discovery, what we ran with the customer. We can share some information. And as we move through the process, then we'll get to the stage of doing a quote, or we got to get the terms. Now here I've just got terms. It could be a full contract, some sort of services agreement, NSA that we want to have, and DealHub can build that out for us as well, and then carry it through to the end where we're filling out information and where we're signing off electronically. So they have one motion there that goes through the process, one interface for the salesperson to engage with, one interface to the customer for whether it's sharing information, giving you a budgetary quote, your final quote, signing off on the agreement, giving the abilities. We've got some other capabilities to pull information out of here and redline and put it back in afterwards. So that also gets you into that contract management side of things as well. All those capabilities in one solution, that's what gives you that, one fluid sales motion.
Awesome. And I can tell you as a business owner, that is critical because customers are busy and there are lots of different stakeholders and they get confused. And at the end of the day, if you get one set of contract terms that one person reviewed, another person signed the agreement with a different set of terms, somebody else is still making internal decisions based upon an outdated set of pricing, right? And then all this information is out of sync. It doesn't matter if the customer messed all that up, okay? Who are they going to blame? They're going to blame us. So it's important to understand. And I mean, I just say that matter of factly, right? It's important to understand we have two roles in a complex sales process. One is to run a successful sales process. The other is to project manage the customer's journey into making sound decisions and to staying in internal alignment. We essentially need to be facilitators, and that's an enormous responsibility to ask salespeople to do both of those things. Okay. And this technology and your philosophy behind it makes that possible. We are helping the customer to facilitate their journey, as well as helping us make it less friction for the salespeople. So let's take a moment and start digging into, okay, how do we make this possible? Let's talk about that configuration engine and some of the things that you all have thought through, honestly, in a way that I haven't seen anyone else even get close to.
Absolutely. Why don't we take a step back? Actually, you know what? I forgot to put a HubSpot screen up. You'll show the HubSpot screen where it comes from.
You got it. I can show that too. I happen to have HubSpot ready to roll on my box. Go for it, my friend.
Okay. So we're going to start off, first of all, on HubSpot. We'll see that in a second from Doug's screen over here, but we're going to come into a DealHub environment, and then we're going to present all the relevant information to the salesperson that they need for what they're working on, and then walk them through or guide them through a very simple process, what we call a playbook. So just like in sports, you have a playbook walking you through the different steps. That's the idea of a playbook in DealHub. If I was selling a software solution, I might want to pick my product and my project and add some services or add even some contractual changes and additional material. And this is where the salesperson simply comes along and they answer the questions that are relevant to them. So if I pick a certain kind of solution, I'll get a certain set of options automatically based off of what that product needs. So how many licenses do you need? How long do you want that license for? Whatever the questions happen to be. However, if I need another kind of solution, I'm going to get a different set of questions. So it's automatically going to be set up for me to get the right information all the time. I can always provide salespeople with additional information as well. So whether it's images of products, I'm selling widgets, I want to show them what it looks like, or I want to give them some additional information on what they're selecting, we can always help guide the salesperson through that process as well. DealHub automatically goes and puts in the right products and the right services for us. We don't have to think about it. If you've got dependencies, if you've got prerequisite products, that's a whole part of that C part, that configuration part, it automatically does it for you because you've set it up, or your operations team has set it up for the salespeople to have all that logic built in. You want to give a better price when you sell more units. So instead of 20 units, I'm going to sell at $75, I'm going to sell 469 units at $39. Or if I sell it for a longer duration, 24 months, it'll adjust the pricing as well. And that works in whatever industry you're in. If you're selling so many feet of some material, or you're, for whether construction industry, manufacturing, software, as we see here, anything you're selling, you simply answer a series of questions. And as you go through the questions automatically adjust themselves. So whether you need to pick a project for a number of years or a different kind of project is measured in months, DealHub will automatically walk the salesperson through that process. What we can also do is allow you to do things like changing parts of the contract. So even let the dreaded change the payment term, something the operations people hate, but let the salespeople know if you do that, you're going to have someone that needs to approve it. And you give them that ability to see exactly who needs to approve it, whether it's one or multiple people. So you can set up all the controls, all the governance you need. You can lock things in as much as you want so salespeople can't make mistakes, or you can open up, give them a lot of flexibility and put some approval processes around that. I like to talk about DealHub being almost like a Lego building block set. You put the building blocks together for the approvals, the kind of products that you want, the kind of documentation that you want. I'll talk about the contract side in a moment as well. So you really have a lot of flexibility over here. So whether you're in an environment that you allow the salespeople to make changes to the contract, or we can actually limit it so I can bring in another team member like the legal team and they can do that for me. I won't let the salesperson do it, or give them the option where the salesperson has certain toggles that they can turn on and off. So for software, you know, the dreaded turn off the automatic renewal, but okay, maybe we're going to give them that ability to do that. Or if there's a yearly increase and they can control that. Maybe I'll just show, you know, another couple things here. Like I talked about earlier, an example of a case study. DealHub will recommend for me the right content. I said, I know what vertical market I'm selling to because I read that in from HubSpot. I know what territory I'm, same thing. I know what product I just configured for them. Why don't I recommend the relevant case studies that I want to include for that? Or even building out an SOW. So you've got a project plan, opens up a whole new section for me here. And this is just a really simple one. We can obviously make it a lot more complex, but I can pick my dates. I've got content that's been preloaded, and I can adjust this if I need, or even share it with another team member. We can work together on a proposal. So it's really a process where we're walking the salesperson through the process to pick out the right products, get the right pricing in place, add the additional content that they want, whether that's like we saw in SOW, marketing information, contractual information, and then of course the things that you want to do. If you want to go ahead and discount, and maybe you know a certain price that you've negotiated with a customer on that, or maybe an overall discount, or you know the customer's budget. So we want to plug that in. So we'll say $320,000, and DealHub automatically, of course, will tell us if you've exceeded the ability to discount. It can even take into account discount thresholds that you have. So you've got max discounts because you've got margins. Whatever you need to do, simply you build in your logic into here. As a salesperson, as we saw, I just answered some questions, made some adjustments to my pricing, and then we saw that deal room, or if we want the document to come out, and of course, full visibility into everybody that needs to approve it for whatever reason it happens to be that that approval process came into play.
And the other thing I want to really emphasize that this is making possible is onboarding new salespeople into the company and giving them tools that allow them to do very sophisticated work without having to wait months and months to become conversant with every piece and part. Let's dig into that a little bit, because in this industry, in a lot of complex B2B and tech, you know, we're all trying to add salespeople, account executives quickly. And, you know, we can't wait a year for them to get to expert on every piece and part.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really good point that you make. As we see here, we're simply answering a series of questions. The salesperson doesn't have to know anything but, not that they don't know anything but that, but all they have to know is to answer the question. So it's just a matter of you teach them the regular discovery process when they go out there and they talk to their customer, and then you map those exact questions into here. If your processes change, in DealHub, it's all a configured environment. The operations people can come in, they can add the additional questions, put the logic around that, which might even take them 3 or 4 minutes to go and put that together. They can test it and then get it out to the salespeople. So we don't want to be changing the way the salespeople are thinking, the way that they're working. In the back end, we'll configure those things. They just simply answer the questions. Now, another thing that happens in a lot of industries, products are changing, pricing is changing. Well, again, salesperson only needs to answer the questions. If there's a product change, it'll be done in the background. They don't need to know what that is. Or if you all of a sudden put in a new limitation, so only certain products will work together, again, just answer the questions. DealHub will build out that configuration. So we literally see customers that their training is, you know, maybe an hour, because they're telling them what button to click in HubSpot. Once you come into this screen over here in DealHub, just answer the questions. Oh yeah, you'll want to maybe go pick a couple things over here. And then at the end of it, if you know what the word submit is, just press on that button and it'll submit over. So.
That's awesome. I'm going to bring up a little bit of discussion here. I want to talk a little bit about the HubSpot side of the equation. And then I want to come back and talk about how we make the implementation smooth for the customer. I know I'm having a little bit of lag on my video, but hopefully I sound awesome despite the video lag. My apologies. So let me pop up a screen here, and I'm going to talk a little bit about how we manage deals in HubSpot and how DealHub, in my opinion, makes this such a smooth process. While I wait for the screen to load, let me make 3 key points. Point number 1 is the whole philosophy behind HubSpot is we are connecting the dots between sales, marketing, and service. Okay. So when you utilize the HubSpot platform as an enterprise CRM, what we're recognizing and trying to do is break down the boundaries between those 3 functions in the organization because to go back to that fluid motion, let's even expand the term a little bit. It is a fluid customer journey. Okay. And sales is the centerpiece department in that. But if we can provide fluid marketing journey into the sales process, fluid marketing experience during the sales process, and then fluid delivery of onboarding and customer service, now we are building a customer relationship that will last the ages. So when we take a look at HubSpot, and I'm just going to do some screen sharing here. Hopefully the screen will move a little bit faster than me. So I'll wait. Ale, just let me know when the screen pops up.
Yeah, I've got your HubSpot screen.
Look at that. So my computer is more interested in showing HubSpot than me. Now I get it. Okay. So I just need to refresh the screen here. In HubSpot, you have this ability to link in applications like DealHub that have built a native integration to HubSpot. And so inside HubSpot, I can be working on my deal. And then with one click, I can create the associated deal room in DealHub and fluidly go over, start configuring that solution. When that solution is purchased, we can send that information back to HubSpot. Looks like my computer's not going to cooperate with me here with a little bit of lag time. My apologies. But literally that idea is that I'm inside HubSpot. I can live inside HubSpot to work my deal. One click brings me into DealHub. I configure my solution, send the deal room. That information goes back to HubSpot. I have my conversations. We're all working across with that single link, that single document, which is updated in real time. So I don't have to worry about, wait a second, let me revise the quote and send you the new PDF. Oh, Frank, you're looking at the old PDF. My gosh, that happens more times than I can count. Now it's a living document for everyone, and it operates consistently across time. When they sign and they provide that billing and other information that I want, it comes back fluidly into HubSpot. So talk about one fluid motion. HubSpot DealHub. I know this wasn't necessarily intentional, but you put hub in your name and I love it. I'm 100% all over it. These are the two hubs to have. HubSpot and DealHub together.
Absolutely, absolutely. There was no intention there. It was the years before, but yeah, happy that it worked out.
Absolutely. So I have a couple more questions before we take questions from the audience. First of all, let's talk about maybe 2 or 3 of the most common kinds of use cases you see where it's clear DealHub is the solution of choice for the customer. You know, in preparing for today, you and I talked about the most common scenario that I think of, which is complex configuration. I'm actually going to turn my video off because it looks like it just decided to stop rolling. Congratulations. You're running solo, my friend. You've got it from here. No.
Okay.
So let's talk about, you know, one scenario is we have a complex solution, right? And you showed an example of that with the question-based workflow. Do they need this? Do they need that? Does this apply? Does that apply? Therefore, give me options and make those options contingent. Definitely the business case for us. What are other scenarios that apply to DealHub being the fluid sales motion solution?
Absolutely. What we'll see with a lot of organizations is there's just no visibility at the management level. They've given their salespeople the ability to go send out quotes using Word, PDF, Excel, whatever it is. Nothing gets back into their CRM. Hopefully they have a CRM, but obviously if they don't have a CRM, they should be getting a HubSpot CRM. But they have no ability to go and get any visibility into what's happening. So no governance over what's happening in the organization. The CFO is totally disconnected on what's coming down the pipe in terms of revenue. So that's a huge, huge problem. Now, when you have a CPQ solution and you force it, and again, we're not trying to force salespeople to do something that doesn't work. You want to give them a good solution like DealHub that'll give them a smooth process to build out the proposals. But when they're able to go and build out the quotes that they want with the right flexibility, and giving them the freedom to go do the things that they need, but you put the right limits in there like we saw with approval process and all that, and then you can get all that information back into the CRM. So that's a really big issue that we see with organizations not having that visibility into their pipeline. Sometimes it's just a matter of consistency, of quoting things in different ways. So every salesperson has their idea of how they want to put it together. Sometimes it's just as simple, and some of the other tools will do that too. If like salespeople like to stretch the logos because they think, you know, marketing didn't do a good job designing it, but that's sort of the simple, that's sort of the simple part of it. It's also the creative side of salespeople, but it's just not having a consistent view. Going back to marketing spending, you know, millions sometimes or hundreds of thousands of dollars getting the right branding out there, and then quotes go out in different ways and they're not organized in the right way. They don't look professional enough. You didn't organize, so you're showing the customer the software and the services in different places the way they want to see it, so that the way you present the content from a very structural point of view, a lot of times is something that's missing as well. Sometimes it's that oversight, what I talked about earlier in the approval processes. So salespeople, have their ability to do that rogue discounting. They can decide, yeah, why not give 60% away? I'm not responsible for this. How do you have that oversight on that process? So it's also a really key area. Typically, we'll find, though, most customers have more than one of those things that they need. They typically will have several of those. So you obviously want to get the right pricing in place. You want to have the right approvals. You want to get that information back in for your pipeline and your forecasting. But we'll find those pains coming out from different areas. And those are the kind of things that are usually going to draw people to a process of using a CPQ. And also what we talked about a moment ago, things like the education as well. How long does it take to get salespeople on board? One of the biggest expenses that a sales organization has is how long does it take them to get going? When we build out that playbook that we saw, first of all, when we do a project, we'll tell the customer, bring in your salespeople into that process. And I like to expand on that and say, bring in your best salesperson, because we want to model that out, and bring in your biggest complainer as well, because we have to address their needs. And that way we know we've got a good process that's going to walk them through that process. And that we know when you bring in a new onboarded salesperson, they're going to learn it quickly, because they're going to get all that wisdom from the best salesperson, together with everything you've thought of, all the stupid proof things that you have to put in there from the people that always are complaining. And you're going to have a really quick way to get salespeople on board. And so a number of different things of why you look at CPQ, and and we address all those capabilities and really give a lot of flexibility to addressing them.
I just want to point out that in our case, the two people that were critical to the implementation were the top salesperson, Pat Fuentes, our sales operations manager now, and the top complainer, who happened to be me. So I completely understand that was exactly the right approach. Nailed it. I also want to really zero in on something that scaling companies need to think about that honestly was not at all a part of our decision process. I consider us a larger company, but that's because I'm a small business person by background. We're 50 people strong. We were less than half that number 18 months ago. So we're definitely growing very quickly, but it did not really hit me as a business critical requirement to be able to scale into a sophisticated approval control process. And I am already seeing cases where, honestly, you guys saved our collective behind by having that capability in the system. So I think it's also important to understand, as a prospective customer, you need to think in terms of what you need to solve the immediate pain, and 18 months from now, what are pains you're going to end up moving yourself into that, if the job is done right, this solution is going to solve for it.
That's right. That's right. And what we all say along with those lines, we see with organizations is they're constantly changing things, whether it's business pressures or whatever it is, or the way their product structures are going, and you want to be able to adjust things and adjust them very quickly and make that very simple for the salespeople to go into. So it's really key also to have that flexibility. We see our customers continuously evolving the solution. It's not something as another project down the road when things change. You're simply changing things all the time to match what your needs are. So as you're growing, you're adding more products, more services, more salespeople. You're dividing them into different types of salespeople, different groups. You've got your mid-market, your enterprise, or whatever it happens to be, or different verticals, and they work differently. And that's all part of scaling an organization as well. And you have one solution that's able to adjust itself. I would say dynamically when you're using it, it's going to adjust itself to who's using it. But it's very easy to go and evolve the solution to address all the different business needs that you have. And that's what really makes the solution very successful, because it does grow. We've got customers. We love the small customers. Obviously you make a lot more money when you sell to a bigger customer, but the small customers that grow and grow and grow, and year over year, we have customers that will start with a few tens of salespeople, and a year or two later, they got several hundred, and they're just evolving the solution. It just addresses their new needs as they come up, and they're able even to do that on their own, which is great too. They don't need us to do that. They just manage that whole process on their own.
Spectacular. We are getting some great questions. So let's take a look at some of these awesome questions that are going to help us dig in even further. So one of the questions is, if a company has products or materials that they're providing that come from a cyclical market, right? So commodities or products that constantly have pricing changes. So we need to constantly update the pricing tables. How easy is it to update pricing, let's say on a month-to-month basis, for materials and products?
With DealHub, you have the ability through Excel, or if you've got a bigger environment where you can utilize the APIs to upload the data, so you can upload them once a month. We've even got customers that are actually in real time. We can reach out to an external system. Sometimes we have customers that have, say, their pricing on their ERP system or somewhere else. And in real time, DealHub can go and read that. So you don't even have to upload it into the system. So we can adjust the different environments depending how you're working, whether you're uploading once a month through one of the methods that we support, or reading out or calling out in real time to another system to get that pricing. A number of different ways that we can address that.
That is spectacular. So just to summarize, we can do a very clean, essentially an instantaneous upload from Excel and just update those tables every month or every week for that matter. If we have a pricing desk that's responsible for that. I'm going to turn my video off again. It keeps getting good and then it gets not so good. I guess it's just my computer's, I know you're there. My computer's a little tired of hearing me talk. So, you know, and at the same time, we can also integrate with ERP. Let's talk a little bit about that, and then I want to dig into some more questions. So by the way, for attendees, please feel free to submit your question by clicking the Q&A button at the bottom of the screen. You know, we've got a couple more questions already in the queue. Feel free to add them in and we'll make sure to address them. So, you know, obviously we are thrilled to have you in the HubSpot ecosystem. And, you know, anybody in this conversation who is considering moving to a CRM platform that is fresh, that is scalable, and that combines power with a simple and easy to use interface, let's talk HubSpot. That said, we also know that there are a good percentage of enterprises that are on incumbent CRM platforms that for whatever reason, they're not, you know, in a position to change. What are some of the other CRMs that you have native integrations to? And then let's talk a little bit about the ERP and the whole integration question as a whole.
Okay, so today DealHub, obviously, yes, we integrate with HubSpot, we integrate with Salesforce, with Microsoft Dynamics, with Sugar CRM, with Freshworks. We also provide open APIs. We've got customers on some really strange CRMs. There are other systems out there that either it's homegrown systems or other CRMs that are not as popular, so we can integrate that way as well. So really any kind of method they want to integrate. What's also very nice is we've got the ability for DealHub that we've had customers go from one CRM to another in less than a day. It's just a matter of mapping things over from one to another. So you're not locked into a CRM. Whether that could be good or bad for you, I'm not sure. But you make that decision of switching a CRM, you can actually take DealHub from one of the CRMs that it works with into another or some other system through the APIs. And you have a lot of flexibility over here in how you use the system.
That's beautiful. Well, by the way, it's good for us because the platforms that we migrate clients off of the most frequently are the ones that you mentioned: Salesforce, Microsoft, and then ERP-based CRMs. That's our 1, 2, 3 list. So I want to emphasize for those who are joining us, let's say that solving for CPQ is problem number 1 that you need to address. Went Partners and DealHub can come in and provide that solution on your incumbent CRM platform. And then when you're ready, maybe in the first quarter of next year, to consider migrating to HubSpot because you know it's going to be easier to maintain, a better and cleaner user interface, but all the power you're accustomed to, we can do that. So actually, I think that's a huge win. I want you to just zero in on that again. Explain again that you've had, what about clients who switch CRM platforms while they're a DealHub customer?
So we've had customers that have gone from different CRMs, whether they've gone from a Salesforce environment, say over to a Microsoft, or from a Salesforce over to a HubSpot. Basically the same functionality, all that capability that I was going through earlier, all that continues to run. All that we have to do is now map it to a different CRM. So obviously what's going to be involved in there, normally a normal process of DealHub, is to read in some information from the CRM, then we build out the quote, and then we sync all the information back, including the documents and the deal rooms and all the other information and the pricing that we've generated. So it's just a matter of switching it to go to another CRM. So you map the fields accordingly. We've literally had large customers that go in a matter of 3 or 4 hours. We're able to map them over from one CRM to another. So it really makes it a smooth process. You don't lose any of your investment in DealHub. Like I said, just a few hours of work to map it over from one system to another.
And the approval process that you showcased a little bit, you know, this pricing change requires approval from the sales director for the division. This other one requires approval from finance. Do I need to integrate that with other systems? Is it fully contained within DealHub? How does that work in my enterprise IT environment?
Yeah, great question. We run the approval processes ourselves. Let me expand a little bit on that and why we've done that. One of the reasons is to be agnostic. So we're not locked into a specific CRM as we're talking about now. The other reason is we provided a lot more robust capability so that it's not just if you gave a certain discount, which is like a commercial reason. It could be illegal, like we saw that I changed the terms and conditions, or it could be a technical reason. I've put two products together that I don't want to stop the salesperson from doing it, but I want to make sure that the product team goes over that and make sure that they're okay with it, or the shop floor team, if it's putting something together that has to be manufactured together, so that we run the approval process, but we provide in real time back into the CRM the ability to visualize that. So you can see exactly either in the CRM or easily come into DealHub and see exactly where the approval process is. So it gives a lot of flexibility over here, really complex approvals. One thing to note as part of that configuration environment that I talked about, to configure rules is as simple as saying if then an and or type of thing. So if you did this, one of those questions that I changed, if you change this question to something, or if you change the discount beyond a certain amount, then here is the person that I need. And we can read in also the user roles coming in from the CRM, so we can utilize the data if it's available. If you've got that plugged into the system, we'll read in who are the management structure and automatically send it out to the management, or you can always configure it in DealHub as well if you don't have that set up in the CRM. So we can work in a lot of different ways. We try to adapt ourselves to customers that work in different ways. You can either do it in DealHub or we can read in the information wherever it's available. So a lot of flexibility in that approval process.
That is spectacular. And I think your strategic approach of making that completely self-contained within DealHub is brilliant, because the number of different workflow and approval systems in the market is dizzying. And to know that I can make it happen in DealHub, period, that's a winning call, 100%.
One other thing, if I could say about how we've done the approvals, what we did very unique is a big bottleneck in an approval process is the approver not getting all the information that they need. You get an email sent out to them and say, can you approve this? Well, why am I approving it? Well, we came up with a method where we can actually send out a different email message to people, even if they're in the exact same flow. You could have 5 or 6 people, one after the other, but everybody's going to get a unique email message exactly with the information that they need. So it makes it very quick. They don't have to go back to the salesperson and ask them, though we do have collaboration capabilities that they can quickly go and check with the salesperson, but you want to provide as much information as you want to speed up that process. It's a huge bottleneck in quotes is the approval process, and we really try to simplify that process, and that's one of the other methods that we utilize to do that.
Let's take a few moments and talk about your newest capability that I know you're just rolling out, the Deal Box.
Yeah, so basically the Deal Box is the ability to add on to a deal room, the ability to almost have like a box or a Dropbox environment. Why that's important is you can imagine I've sent a proposal out to the customer and the customer says, hey, you don't understand something here. Why don't I show you my specification or my requirements document that I wrote, and they can drop that into the deal room. And then everybody in that, like I said, the deal room is like a virtual conference room. So everybody that's involved in that project now is able to go see that content. So whether I'm on the sales side and I want to add some additional information, or it's the customer that wants to share more information within that group, within that virtual group. So the Deal Box basically allows you to go and add that content. Everybody can drop in there, view the content. And again, just expands that ability to have in a conversation or an engagement together with a group of people on that opportunity.
I need to pin this and I need to make a note. Hey, Pat, we need to start talking about how to implement the Deal Box capability in our implementation of DealHub. The number one thing that we are struggling through right now is the management of document exchange between us and the prospective client during the decision process. So thanks to DealHub, we've nailed down building the complex proposal. Now the question is, how do we capture and manage the documents involved in the back and forth and the links and the resources? And you are now providing that solution as a part and parcel of the DealHub product. This isn't like a separate thing that you bought and added in. This is core capability of the DealHub environment.
It'll take you 5 minutes to go and configure it, and it's ready to go.
Awesome. You and I and Pat are going to meet later today for 5 minutes. You heard it, everybody. In 5 minutes, we're going to have this set up, and I believe it because we've been through the implementation process, and your team is flawless at making that happen. Last question for you. We've got one more question from an attendee, and then I've got a closing question. So let me first ask the attendee question. Does DealHub integrate or sync with Procore? Do you have any customers who've used Procore, which is a parts and product catalog-based estimating tool?
There's always one question that I get asked, whether it's a demo or a customer call, that I don't know the answer, and that's something we're going to have to go back and check, and we'll make that available, that answer. I just don't know that. I apologize. I don't know that answer.
Absolutely. But
I
let's
feel like
take
I've
a note of
lost
that.
Jeopardy now. Like that was that one
No,
$20 question and I lost it now. I didn't know the answer. Maybe I can call somebody up and ask them.
absolutely. So by the way, whoever asked that question, please just drop an email to Doug@wentpartners.com. I'll loop in Ale and we'll make it happen for you, because I think it's a great question. And it is true that there are a lot of moving parts that are part of the larger environment here. We've had questions about commodities, about products that are components. We've had questions about engineered solutions, questions about, product catalogs. These are all pieces of the equation, and DealHub is the hub. It sits at the center of the CPQ process. So these are spectacular questions, and I look forward to continuing that particular discussion via email, because I know that we can provide that solution collectively. Absolutely outstanding. My last question for you. The world keeps getting more complex. Business solutions aren't getting any easier to figure out. What is on the horizon for DealHub? I know you, by the way, congratulations on your major funding round. These guys are just rocking and rolling, not only in the solution you're providing, but quite frankly, just in the business marketplace. When you go public, please give me a heads up. But tell me, what's on the horizon for DealHub?
Well, first of all, first and foremost, the CPQ capabilities, a lot more things that we want to do, whether it's our own kind of innovative things that we want to add, or we're always adding new capabilities from customers. So the core capabilities, we're just expanding on that and making things even easier and better to use, providing more visualizations, more reporting for salespeople to use and for their managers to use, more access to partners when you work through partner sales process. We're providing a lot more access. We do provide that today. We're adding more capabilities around that, into the whole self-service type of world. Some things we're adding into the deal room, let people pick their own options and have everything synced up properly and all that. So provide a lot more of a self-service type experience into that whole B2B. It's a B2B world often, but you want a B2B2C or B2B2C or whatever you say experience. So we're adding those kind of capabilities as well. More integration capabilities, more access to go out to external systems while you're building out the quote. So you need to get information from other systems and all that. So there's a whole host of different areas where we're expanding it. Contract management is a huge area that we're going into. We've got some of that capability I talked about earlier. We're going to have a lot more redlining, version tracking, approval processes on the contract, repository for contract. These are all things in the works right now, and they'll be available as part of the solution as well. So a lot of exciting things that we're working on, constantly adding new innovations. Just how we're different, we're probably adding new capabilities about every 4 to 6 weeks, where some organizations will come out every, once, twice, 3 times a year. We're constantly adding new capabilities and making it available right away for our customers to use.
That is spectacular, and I've already been seeing it, and it's incredible. And what you really just emphasized there is you all are looking at every aspect of what it takes to provide this solution in this segment, and you want to own this segment with a first-class solution for the customer and investing in the technology development to make that happen. Everything you just described is things that I know are important as we continue to grow. Oh, that self-service, that combination of guided and self-serve, the ability to add the other components. Like I said, the deal box nailed it. So, this has been spectacular. Ale, thank you so much. You've really demonstrated, I think, to everybody here, the importance of architecting and designing the right solution for your company. The technology is critical, but what makes the technology work is the philosophy behind it. Having this conversation with you over the last hour really makes it clear to me that DealHub has a philosophy, a methodology for solving the business problem, and that is why the technology executes so flawlessly. So my thanks to you, sir, for joining us for this hour together. And my thanks to everyone who took time out of their very busy day to join us in today's webinar. Any closing
Doug,
thoughts?
if I can add one more thing.
Absolutely.
We'd like to offer anybody that's taking part in the webinar today, we want to give 4 free months of DealHub. If you want to come to us, we want to close the deal by the end of October. Come to us. We want to give you 4 free months. So instead of 12 months, you can get a 16-month contract. So as part of working with you guys now, we're super excited. We want to bring that out to your customers. So, let us know. We want to get on a demo. We'll be happy to set that up together with you, Doug, and show your customers what we have.
I am honored. That is spectacular. We'll make sure to remind everyone in the follow-up. Ale, thank you so much for that offer. And as a reminder to everyone, you're talking to the team that is the first HubSpot partner to also be a DealHub partner. We look forward to working with all of you. Ale, thank you so much. Thanks everyone for joining us, and we look forward to further conversations. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.